Hello, listeners, and welcome to the 27th episode of the Heresy Accountability Buddies podcast. I'm Jacob, and on today's show, I'm joined by
Dan,
Duncan,
Jack,
John, Jamie.
and we're glad to have you with us. It's that time of year, and this is likely our last show for the year. So this is gonna kind of be a little hobby-sode to kind of round out both what we accomplished this year, what we learned this year, and what we're hoping to be able to accomplish next year. This is going to be a little more casual, but before we get too much into that, we are actually going to slip something in before our hobby progress, for lack of a better term. We do have a couple event shouts. Once again, we have Indiana Circle City Heresy. Our 2023 kickoff is going to be at the Battle Barn on February 11th. That's going to be 2-ish rounds with options for more. Running from about 10 till 7 is what it's looking like. 3,000 points, 2 rounds, narrative kickoff, fully painted. Bring a bonus model or chip or something to reflect your army so that we can track who's playing on what boards or contesting what territory. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody there. Just please make sure RSVP to the posted event. That way I can have a better idea of headcount and what we're looking at for the event coming up. Do we have any other events? I think, Jamie, you'd mentioned second Toys for Tots auction.
Yes, we have another Toys for Tots auction. Is not an army. It is a old school. Well, I don't know if for some people old school, but it is a fully painted by one of my artist painter friends out in California. It's kind of like my airbrush guru that I go to for airbrush tips and stuff like that. And also he's a very good photographer, like professional photographer as well. He loves doing terrain. So he painted up a Realm of the hills, or the hill style, a full Realm of Battle board to like an incredibly high standard. And I'll have some pics I'll post up on the forum. But the auction is the full Realm of Battle board, fully painted with the carry bag and shipped. So the only thing I will say for anybody that plans on bidding on it, it's a very beautiful table, and I know my friend Chris, he'll ship it out very quickly. Be advised, it is very large. It's full 6 tiles. And I think it weighs around 26, 27 pounds, if I remember correctly. I've got the dims and the weight. So remember when you're bidding on it that there's going to be, especially if you're out of country, there's going to be a significant shipping charge on it. So, and there's nothing that I can really do about that. It's just how it works out.
And we've got the event in the Texas sector coming up on January 6th. I posted a link in the Facebook group for the Accountability Buddies podcast, but that'll be held with Michael, sometimes guest star, and myself and Cody McGarity out of The Forge in Texas on January 6th, 7th, and 8th. So I will definitely be there. We're doing a 3,000 point games. We're doing 1,300 and 1,500 point games, team games, and some ZM stuff. So look forward to anyone who can show up for those.
Excellent. Does anybody else have any notes or shouts before we start talking about where we've been, what we've done, and where we're going?
I'm going to jump in here, and it's never too early to start talking about Adepticon. In fact, in previous years, probably we would have bought passes and tickets already, but they're delayed, and we're a little delayed. But we did find out this week that even with the passing of David Coleman, his fiance wants his events to keep going on. So our sometimes podcaster and good friend Lucas Lyons is working out the details. But in addition to what Zach and I are going to be running, and Alex from Canada, and Tick, Lucas is going to be bringing up taking a Firex at Adepticon as well. So preview should go up probably by the time this cast hits. Actually, the preview will be up on Facebook. And then, more to come on that as far as what events are. But there's going to be 3,000 points, 1,500 two-person teams, Zone Mortalis, obviously Big Titan, the whole gamut of what Adepticon always is. And as of now, we are back upstairs, in a separate room again instead of in the main hall, which allows late night gaming. We don't have to get kicked out at midnight or whatever when they close the main hall. And so, looking forward to that. That's when everybody comes and visits. So yeah.
All I'm hearing is Drunk Hammer back on, buddy.
Yep, Lucas and I will be making that trip. I'm gonna have to learn how to drive with a trailer.
I'll be happy to if I got the okay from the wife. So
you're gonna fly over to Texas and drive up with the trailer from Texas?
no, I could drive over to Texas and then drive with the trailer on the back end of my monster truck up.
That would work.
We'll figure it out.
Here's hoping it's a good year for you guys.
Well, for all of us, I think Heresy needs an awakening. I think we'll discuss this a little bit later too. But we're 7 months into a new edition and some rules. We've got some FAQs, but I think we need a big event to kick things off. I think we need something.
I agree. As much as I would wish or love that Demons, Militia, and Cults were in the game. In the absence of that, I agree that it'll be nice just to see some large events start running. We start to see full year narrative campaign progress, so that we can start wrapping our head around how much of what we think we need we actually need, how much we don't realize we're missing.
Yep.
So with that being said, and with that aside, who wants to kick us off? What were some goals that you guys had coming into this year for hobby? And understandably, even if you've only had those goals for now like 6 months since the new edition came out, and that understandably may have changed what some people's goals were or what they thought those goals were. What's that look like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off. This week specifically, I got a lot of kind of scattered terrain built for the desert tables. I got my Black Friday order of FLG mats in so I could lay out everything. And today I went out in the 40-degree weather for the only open space that I have and set up a table outside, and then organized everything together and took some photos of what everything looks like together, so I have an understanding of how much I'm building and how much I don't need to build. If I'm building enough for 3 tables at once and then some, so I'm taking some stuff off the build queue and pushing it back into the terrain hideaway. How that relates to my new edition resolutions. My biggest resolution when the new edition dropped was obviously the jet bikes that I built through the cast. I think that went off well, but obviously I've learned that jet bikes not as great as they used to be. That will be good to add into some of my lists as going forward. For the most part, my resolutions have always kind of to try to finish my backlog, work on more Citizen Soldier that we can run events here. I think that my biggest resolution for next year is going to be try to get either Sisters of Silence or Plastic Mechanicum or Custodes. I'm leaning more towards Sisters right now because I have most of the need for that army finished. That will be my I call it kind of a minor resolution. The major resolution to me will be getting, we just did our Accountability Buddy Secret Santa, and I got a bunch of ZM style stuff as part of my Santa gift, but in my garage, something like 10 boxes of ZM tiles, 8 boxes of columns and walkways, 5 or 6 boxes of doors, and 12 boxes of Mechanicum terrain, and it's just tons and tons and tons of terrain. And I've always wanted to have the 3D ZM table that everyone always got all the nice effects, and it's got parts for shootouts, and it's got torpedo bays, got the captain's quarters, and all that stuff is what I want to build. I'm contracting with some local guys, and I picked up my own 3D printer to help out some to get some of the Mordian stuff printed that go with it. But that's my biggest resolution next year, is to build the dream table. I think
super exciting. Just given the way your other terrain projects have been going and turned out, I can't wait.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I ironically enough never really enjoyed Z because I never had a table to play on it. So it always kind of threw me off of it because I never had a way to go with it. So I have a lot of breachers built and I painted them. I have a lot of other stuff like that can work with ZM stuff, and I'll probably paint it up along with the terrain and things like that I can just kind of keep, instead of going full bore into one project like I've been doing and kind of burning myself out as I go. I want to kind of interlude back and forth between other projects, keep myself focused a little better instead of just go, and then right after the project's done, kind of mellow out for 2 months. Instead, if I could just keep up a decent pace, I'm going to try that out. How about Dan? What was your 2.0 resolution and your New Year?
Well, so last year, New Year's resolution actually was prepping 2 tables for Adepticon, which is my alien invasion table and that Rex spaceship table with a bunch of scatter terrain around it. So I had 3D printed most of that stuff and painted it all up. I did get that done. With 2.0, I picked up Blood Angels Army with everything. And now I have all of the models I plan to build and put in that army. So, resolution going forward will be to build that army. I want to enter model for Golden Demon at Adepticon again. That was another resolution last year that I did do as well. Didn't place or anything, but I was really happy with the model on the shelf. Everyone who saw it, told me it looked cool, so that was good. And this year I've been working on a Zone Metalis table. I think I need to print a few more things to fill it in to be a full good 4x4 table. I'm not using tiles. Mine's built on the spaceship interior or Factorium mat because it works either way that I have. So I just need to fill in a few more walls and doors section to have a good 4x4 and then one more table on top of that. Rex with some bunkers and stuff thrown in. So but the Blood Angels build and paint up these Blood Angels is what I want to get done for the year. Not by Adepticon. That won't happen, but throughout the year by then. Yep, that's what I got. So I gotta move on to Jack.
Hello, gentle viewers. I hope you're doing well this fine evening. 2022 started with me planning on working on my Shattered Legions list, building some more Alpha Legions, building some more Iron Warriors, finishing my Knights Army. And then by Q1 of 2022, all that went out the door with the drop of 2.0. As I'm sure a lot of people, that happened with them. So as a drop back and punt, I decided to redo my Ultramarines for the 175th time. Some of them, I'm sure Duncan believes, are literally a paperclip with this like paint slathered on top of it with the number of times that I've repainted them.
I believe that, and I've said that.
Yeah. So I knocked out, I'm not sure how many points worth of Ultramarines waiting for 2.0 to drop, get ready for Music City Heresy, which that was a good thing this year. Currently, I'm working on knocking out more Ultramarines because I hate myself. Getting ready for Adepticon. Next year, we'll hopefully bring, if you guess more Ultramarines, you'll be correct. Along with possibly doing a Custodes army. By possibly, I mean trying to find a list that is not abusive and fun for all the boys and girls to play with and against. Duncan, what about you, brother?
Well, I started off this 2022 wanting to build an Alpha Legion army for my friend Corin, getting bits and stuff of that. Then my daughter moved in and decided to get into Heresy. So I went ahead and got a whole bunch of stuff to make a pretty nice Thousand Suns list. And I had a whole bunch of Night Lord stuff that I was slowly starting to work on to make another army for myself this year. And then, much like Jack, 2.0 dropped, and I also had to kind of cycle back and punt. The Alpha Legion army I was building, Corin, was going fairly well, and now it's not. So I've got to redo that pretty much from the ground up on some of it. My daughter kind of got sucked into doing Twitch streaming, so she's kind of letting her Thousand Suns sit over there and collect dust and not do anything with them. But it's all assembled at least. It's just not painted or anything like that. We'll get to that part eventually, I guess. And my Night Lords have sat there with the same 10 guys done now for about a year. And they haven't gotten joined by anybody, unfortunately, at this point, because my Sons of Horus didn't really work in the new edition, so I kind of had to redo that entire army. So I've done that. I've also done Horus, the first Primarch I ever painted, and then I did Angron, and then I did my first big tank, double barrel, huge, go boom.
Fellblade.
Yes, my fell blade for the Sons of Horus. I did that. And I've bought pretty much a new Sons of Horus army. Been done, like I said, did that. Now I'm working to redo the World Eaters slowly but surely, while still finishing off the last couple touches I need for the Sons of Horus. But yeah, for me personally, 2022's kind of sucked, but that's how it's been. Hopefully 2023 brings a better year. That's all I can say at this point. Hunt, whoever's next, just go. Jamie.
I'm going. So this year's been kind of strained towards the tail end of it. I got back in the hobby after a long kind of not necessarily absence, but I didn't really build and paint a whole lot. It's more like hoarding. I have behind me boxes of unfinished kits. But anyways, I've gotten back in the hobby, and my 10-year-old son is interested and wants to play. So one of my resolutions is to try and build up like a ZM board for us to play because of the limited space that we have. And it would, encourage him to paint and help out and stuff like that when he wants to. But this year, I've actually made decent progress, not John levels of progress, but I painted a Primarch, which I'm really happy with, and I've got the Jamie's used tank lot going, which more tanks all the time, every time that I'm working right now. And I need to kind of get back into like troops and other stuff to finish off my army that I have, my Dark Angels that I have, and start looking to try and figure out how to work into because I'm never going to finish my Dark Angels. I just want to have a good playable list for them, but I need to either revisit back to my Night Lord army because the way I used to play them is not viable anymore, which, wow, what a shock in 2.0. Dreadclaw Terror Squads are not very good anymore, but not that Terror Squads are bad, it's just Dreadclaws, everything in Dreadclaws is not very good. So I got to revisit them, and then I've also have started planning and getting kits and bits for Alpha Legion stuff to do a new Alpha Legion army. Mainly the reason I want to do that is because I know my son's interested. He liked the colors when he started trying paints out and stuff like that at the GW store, and he kind of did like a 40k Alpha Legionnaire. But I know he also likes Death Guard too. So, but that may just be because of the Toys for Tots army that I've had in the house for a little bit. Another thing I would really like the effort to do is do another Toys for Tots army, but I'll have to discuss that with everybody else and see what we can work on. But so I just need to get back more into full gear, and then I also need to play. That's the long and short of it. Have not enough time to play, and just getting some games in would be awesome. So, is there anybody else left?
Jacob.
I think it's just
Jacob.
me. So I know that I fell way short of the hobby goal this year, which was to actually put my 1,000 Suns on the table for a change. I would like to hope that that'll get done next year. I would like to hope it will. I know that I've got a lot of home renovation projects that the fiance is wanting to undertake right now. And so I hope that I can carve out and make time to get all the painting done that I want and need done in and around those. And that's the big goalpost. Interestingly enough, on that subject of things that I did learn this year, outside of just trying to navigate Heresy 2.0, I learned to put a Vortex paint mixer onto my wish list because I don't know that I ever had as much trouble with paint as what I've had with it this year. And I did receive one today, so here's hoping that also helps keep me pushing, keep me moving in the right direction.
Okay, you got a Vortex paint mixer, didn't you? Just recently for Secret Santa?
Yeah, I got a paint mixer today. Yeah, in the Secret Santa for the Accountability Buddies crew that we have.
Was it
going on.
A&E brand?
Yeah, it's an A&E brand one. It's I don't know if it's quite the name brand, but it definitely has written on it. It says Paint Shaker. So it came to me from Jeremiah Grote, who's a member of the group. Doesn't appear on the cast very often, but in case no one actually knows, the Accountability Buddy crew itself is a lot larger than just the regular Heresy podcast crew. We've been going for a number of years now, all because of Jake and Pretty. I think we formed for Adepticon 18.
Yep.
That
Or
sounds
was it
right.
19?
18 or
I'm
19.
not really sure anymore. We
19.
formed years ago because it was all to get everybody motivated to paint and have their stuff ready before Adepticon rather than scrambling last minute, like I personally have done for years
We all still
until
scramble.
the founding of this group.
So
I was about to say, Jacob, you'll find that if you just leave that paint mixer plugged in constantly, that your fiance and wife will love it for any hobby things that they do. My wife loves to use it for nail polish, for her glues, for her craft projects and things like that. That Vortex mixer, I'm almost certain my wife uses it more than I do.
I almost immediately was just like, you know what? She does some painting as well, so I'm sure that'll be a great payoff there. But I immediately, I was just like, yeah, she's not gonna be ready for me just like grabbing her bottle of nail polish one time and putting it through for her and just being like, there you go.
One of the crazy things when I got my Vortex, and mine's like 5 pounds. It's like a heavy lab grade, nice Vortex paint maker. And I had waited up to get one, and I got a bonus from work. And I finally decided I was pulling a trigger. So like at 9 o'clock in the morning, I took a break from work and I went on to Amazon and I ordered it. And amazingly enough, it was same day delivery. So I ordered my paint mixer at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I had it by 5 o'clock in that afternoon. And so the only thing I can think is that with schools around here in Chicago area that they had one on the shelf for like, some college or something. And so I was able to get one same day delivery from Amazon. But I thought that was the craziest thing.
Yeah, I remember mine came from ReaperCon. The guy, he buys them, re-cerakotes them, restores all the insides, and then makes it so all you do is tap the top and it spins. He also came up with a custom cup design that can fit larger bottles, so I can do my Cerakote for my guns on the same mixer that I can do my GW bottles. So just with a quick head swap on them. So yeah, obviously if you haven't looked at a Vortex mixer or some type of mixer in that brand, you'll balk at the price. I know, $80 to $200 depending on who you go through or what brand and all that stuff. But it will change your life. It's one of those things like putting a hairdryer next to your airbrush, buying an airbrush to begin with. It's one of those little tools that add so much to what you're doing.
Yep. So I'm just hoping that I can not only get the list on the table, but then the next wish on top of that is that once I get it on the table, I'm actually happy with playing. I'm nervous that I won't be, but I'm trying to hold on to as much optimism as I can.
Well, how about this? February, if I make it up there, how about you and I play a game during that event?
Yeah, I bet we could do that. That gives me
And if you make it to
six
Adepticon,
six
I'll-
weeks here
I'll
to try to
help.
get the army at least glued onto bases. Yeah,
I mean, to start,
yeah.
And if you make it to Adepticon, I'll challenge you.
There we go. I'm not sure if I'll make it to Adepticon. I don't know if I've ever put this into words on this podcast, but there is something about how Adepticon conducts itself that makes my eye twitch every year, where they put the housing block up so far in advance of posting their event calendar, that it is deeply upsetting to me.
Oh, I
that-
get it.
Yep.
Is it that much further than Gen Con does it? Just curious.
It
I
might
know
be,
Gen Con's
and
local for you, but
And it may be that through a combination of Gen Con being local to me and me kind of treating that as a out of sequence class reunion a lot of the time. I never really plan on doing events at Gen Con, and so it absolutely may be a problem that I'm just blind to that Gen Con is subject.
I'm not sure. I don't, and it may be that it's 6 months instead of a year or whatever. I know, but I'll just.
Well, when I've been to Gen Con, and even if it was like a spur of a moment thing, I was still able to get like reasonable hotel, even with how big it is versus like with Adepticon. And it's like Adepticon keeps when the tickets go on sale, it keeps sliding closer and closer to when the actual event is too.
Well, they had 2 venues last year because they know they're really too big for the venue, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so they're trying to not go to Rosemont or downtown because the financials changed drastically, but they're really too big for the event there.
I get it.
So another thing that nobody mentioned, and I'm going to throw out that when the second edition came around, we started talking about doing this podcast. What's it been, 7 months since release, and we're at 27 episodes, so we're
at least one a month.
Yeah, at
Yeah,
least every
we are more frequent than every other week, to say nothing of us not starting when the year.
So this is something that I didn't know I wanted to do until we started talking about it. It helps my hobby. It helps keep me motivated. I sit down and do more hobbying when I record this. I enjoy sitting and recording with all you guys. The Accountability Buddies was originally, we were doing calls, hobby calls, to while we were painting, to keep everybody motivated and accountable. And moving it on into the podcast is something that I'm really, really happy we've done. I appreciate Jake and to an extent John, who does some recording, but Jacob does the editing, taking care of all of our swear words, inappropriate jokes and topics that need to be filtered out, and puts it all together for us. I appreciate that a ton. And I was looking at the stats this week, and we get about 200 listens per podcast, and I don't think anybody's listened to us more than once. So I'm pretty happy with that. I appreciate that you listeners enjoy it. We've said, any comments or feedback other than that we have too many Ultramarines players, we'll try and fix. And feel free to reach out some more. But I think this was something that when it came about, I'm really glad it became what it is, and I've enjoyed this a ton, and hope we go on.
That definitely brings something up. I do want to go out of my way to thank John. I know that there was a stint there where I had a couple things going on in life, and I think John hosted between 2 and 4 in a row for me. Really appreciate that. I also appreciate you guys. It's been a great opportunity to learn and grow on the show with you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone's hard work. Jacob, first among equals. We couldn't do it without you. Everyone else, y'all keep me motivated. I know I'm joking the hobby machine, but before we started this podcast and before everything else, I was not pushing out nearly as much work load as I was. I was playing a lot more video games, random crap. This podcast has kind of helped me solidify my mission for wanting to run more events and wanting to more people in the hobby. So I appreciate everyone's input, and everyone that says that we have too few Ultramarine players. We agree with you, and we're supposed to come on.
I think it's very appropriate that you phrased it that way. Yes, for everyone who has ever said that.
I'll go ahead and chip in on that also. I was part of a podcast somewhere around 10-ish years ago. Jack was with me on that one. I think the podcast died somewhere right around episode 20. So I'm super glad this has continued. Hanging out with you guys every Sunday or every other Sunday or however often we've done it has definitely kept me sane through what I can only state has been a poo of a year. So now Jake doesn't have to censor that, thankfully. But yeah, I love you guys. And thank you for everyone who listens to us. We, meaning me, appreciate the heck out of all y'all.
Now I'll pile in on that. As much as we all like hearing ourselves speak, knowing that there's other people out there who like rewarding in a whole new way.
Especially in Eastern Europe and the Scandinavian countries.
Yes. Big shout out to Poland.
Big shout out to Poland, baby.
Big shout out to my coworkers that I recommended this podcast to in Poland and other places. So I appreciate y'all, Belgium listeners, and I wish y'all were here because it would be totally awesome to play games.
Well, I'll follow it up. I want to thank everybody as well, all the listeners. I do hear from people that are like friends that I've had in the hobby for a long time, and they're actually, they were kind of in the same, I'm not going to say rut, but basically rut that, they kind of had fallen out of favor, playing video games or just doing other stuff in life. And once we started this podcast, I sent them links to it to get them, to get feedback from them. And then basically it's kind of gotten them back into the hobby. And so they're posting up work, pictures of their work and what they're doing and stuff like that. And encouraging me to keep on going and keep on putting stuff out. I know I have people ask me, like, when we've had a couple lulls, like around Thanksgiving, we had a couple lulls between actually recording. They're like kind of like Jones and like an addict, almost wanting more and more. They're like, when's the next show coming? When's the next show? When's the next show coming? So I want to thank them for keeping me to the fire. How about that?
It's very easy to dismiss the past couple years and the inability to see each other and what that does for everybody's psyche. Not only on a professional level, but a personal level and emotional level. I know it's hard to stay motivated for something when it requires you to sit across the table from somebody and have interactions when you're not allowed to sit across the table from somebody and have interactions. I'm really thankful for this group over the last 3-4 years for always being that group of degenerates that I can look at, get a chuckle on there because John posted something highly inappropriate, and move on with my day. For everybody to be here, for Jacob for doing all this stuff, for Dan just being Dan, and always there with a joke. Nick, Jacob, the other Jacob. Pretty this like the whole entire group, the whole entire community. You all are fantastic, and then thanks to all of our listeners also for listening.
Yeah, when Dan said that we had over 200 listeners, I was kind of shocked. I know that I listened to our podcast, and I was like, well, at least we got one. So
Yeah, I actually listened to like our first 4 or 5 episodes total, and I saw that we were actually getting real listens, and I was like, I'm just not gonna keep listening. I'll let other people be the number for it. So yeah,
I've never listened to an episode.
I haven't either.
I listen to the ones I'm not on.
I mean, that's fair.
I will also say that my longtime buddy, best man, real good friend that got me into Games Workshop games way back in the day when we couldn't get D&D groups together, and started playing Space Hulk late 80s, early 90s. Finally jumped into Horus Heresy after I've talked to him about it for all the time I've been in, because of 2.0 abundance of plastic models coming out. And so it's not going to be Christmas because of my wife's job. I'm not going to get to spend a bunch of extra time over there, but I'm extremely grateful for the fact that I'm going to eventually get to throw dice and play Horus Heresy with my buddy Mark. So that's something I love. For all the warts that the game has, I still think that there's good things that GW's done for the fact the community's so good. It's still growing. That's all awesome.
yeah, I think Henry Cavill. I know we have the Henry Cavill announcement, but he said it best when he was talking about. Someone asked him if all these people are toxic because that they have some type of ownership on this, and it's a passion. We're nerds. This is what's drawn us into this. This is where we choose to spend our emotional investment, where we spend our time and energy and money and literally everything else that whether we're a little too much into things or not enough into things, or like third party rules or don't like we're too smart for our britches. We're all nerds in some way.
Okay. Now that I have not started this problem, I'm gonna go ahead and share with our listeners the worst thing that I could think of after the Henry Cavill announcement, because I've already shared it with you guys. The worst thing I could think, people are like, oh, is he gonna be the Emperor? Oh, well, he plays Custodes. What's he gonna get cast as?
Don't do this to me.
And I thought of the worst casting choice ever, which would be to take Henry Cavill and have him cast himself as John Grammaticus.
Oh my!
No, he'd be Arkan Land's monkey.
I was like, who's the character we all hate the most?
As I read Vulcan or listen to Vulcan news on my rides home, I appreciate that. Okay.
That actual
John Grammaticus is always in.
It's very unfortunate that we've ended up with such a character sticking around for so long. But hey, maybe it's the upsell effect. Maybe that character just exists and is what he is, so that other characters look way less garbage by comparison.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still hate Erebus, but that's more like I hate Erebus because he's Erebus. John Grammaticus I just hate because God, please die.
You're supposed to hate Erebus. I mean, that's kind of the whole. It doesn't matter which side. He's the
mustache twirling villain.
I can't figure out. Are we supposed to actually like John Grammaticus? I mean, he's. I just can't tell.
A lot of people do. Majority of us don't like the way the perpetual, and we did have that discussion. Depends on how much we want to rehash it.
We can,
I
yeah.
I'm not a fan of it. Obviously, most of us aren't fans of it. So yeah, you're more than welcome to like it. I'm not going to question your sanity. I'm just going to point out the problems with the character, not your logic.
I will say Vulcan Lives has given me my favorite expression about the Ultraman, all of the Horsehairs, and that is when Kurz the Night Haunter calls Reboot Gilliman the war account, because I think it sums up all of the good and bad of the Ultramarines in 2 words,
Yeah.
basically. It's just perfect.
So since we're doing wrap ups, we've talked a little bit about doing hobby episodes, and we kind of got sidelined with those because of all the other this year and covering legions and jumping around. Has anybody else, apart from Vortex Mixers, what big hobby things this year have you learned? I'll go ahead and kick it off. So I started putting my micro set and micro sol inside of watercolor pens this year. It allowed me to kind of kick my decal applications into overdrive. You don't have to worry about knocking the micro set or micro sol over. You just simply squeeze the watercolor pen a little bit, and then out comes the solution. I talked about heated sand bed before. The foot pedal that controls a hair dryer that sits inside of my spray booth that allows me to dry things that I'm airbrushing quicker. And recently, one tool that I've picked up that I haven't had a chance to use yet is a makeup brush cleaner, a USB powered makeup brush scrubber. Just kind of spins in a circle and it's got some nubbins on the bottom. It's supposed to clean those giant makeup brushes quickly and easily. So switch colors, whatever they're used for. I'm going to use it to try to clean acrylic paints off of brushes that I've had for way too long. I'm just looking around my room as we go here. But anybody else have any oddball hobby secrets?
So this is more of like a self-discovery kind of thing. I discovered somewhere between late last year and now this year, in the process of painting all my tech. I learned that I don't do army projects well, but I like painting individual models. And that's something that I learned about BattleTech that appeals to me, is that, like, more or less, like, even if you get 3 or 5 of the same guy, it's very different from, yeah, okay, now I've got to do all the panel lighting on these 150 Marines to get this army on the table, or even just like 50 means to get on the table. As far as what I'm going to be able to do about that, I don't know currently. But I know more than what I did.
Yeah, that's always important, is to know, this kind of comes into life as understanding how if you're trying to learn something for work or something like that, understanding how you learn or how your body wants to do certain things that you need to do is really helpful. Looking at business and things like that. I just remembered another one that I've recently discovered. Acupuncture needles make great aerials for building tanks and things like that. They also are strong enough to unclog clogged, very tiny airbrush nozzles. So if you're having 0.0005 or whatever airbrush nozzles that keep constantly getting clogged with acrylic paints and you're getting dry tip every day, buy some some acupuncture needles and keep them on hand. They work really well for cleaning out airbrush nozzles and also for making aerials on tanks. And I've used them on infantry for Vox casters, on tank aerials, and pretty much anywhere that needs a little whip that needs to be bendable, and GW plastic and resin snap off in a stiff.
I will say that as I've gotten older, my focal length for being able to see to paint up close has gotten ridiculous. As they say, you got to hold it way far out in front of you to focus. Everybody's going to have that nice experience when they turn about 45, 46. So enjoy that. I know the funny thing is my eyes have actually gotten better long distance wise, but it's up close that the focal length has gone. So one thing I've been able to do is I use cheater glasses when I paint and read. So like I'm able to get back up close to see the details and stuff when I'm painting, instead of trying to, focus at something like an arm's length out from my face. And so you don't like actually have to have like prescription glasses. And I usually just go to Costco and get they have 4 packs for like $20 for different magnifications of focal or of cheaters. And it also helps when you're reading paper too, if you're so that. And then I know with the stuff that I've been working on, John's been helping me get going on my decals and putting decals on all my tanks and stuff like that. So I'm trying to gather everything up for that. And then I also have a resin 3D printer I'm getting for Christmas. That'll be a fun experience too. Once I get it, I'm gonna go to the 3D print master Ryan for a class. Let's call it that, because I haven't got to see Ryan in a long time because of COVID. I used to go up and
Another one I just remembered. Right now at Target, and you'll find this other places, ornament hangers. A lot of them look like twisted braided cable, so you can use that for braided cable. I use it for rebar on my scratch-built terrain.
I
Always
swear I
keep
thought you were going to say Twisted Sister.
Always keep your eyes open for random shapes for terrain, and don't fill your garage with it, or your wife will hate you in the word terrain.
well, also along the same vein, you've got all the Christmas town stuff that's available, and a lot of it's actually on clearance right now because Christmas is almost here. And so you can go like Target and Walmart and Hallmark, and they've got a bunch of that winter terrain stuff. Like if you're looking for that kind of stuff, so like trees and hills.
Sorry, Duncan. Go ahead.
The only thing I've really added to my toolbox, as it were, or Jack's, carry-on luggage, is the Pro Acryl paint line, and it's been wonderful. I'm actually starting to transition more and more into that, and away from the Vallejo and everything else I've been using. So, kind of impressed with that entire line.
I'll tell you one that I picked up. So I've had a wet palette for a long time, but I had this Masters wet palette to keep in a piece of plastic. I really don't. I finally broke down and bought one Red Grass Game wet palettes that actually has a rubber seal around the top and seals it. It's a huge difference that you can put paint on a wet palette, seal it up, and use it for like a couple weeks. It's not just like the wet palette and paint gets all wet and dried out, or opposite, whatever, for the day. And it makes it really nice to be able to come back and sit down. Paint on your wet palette is still fresh, and you're able to mix colors or whatever you got going on your wet palette. And well worth the price and getting a better wet palette. I always used one, and I always knew the benefit of it, but
I'm still using Elliott bottle caps because they work, and I have a pile of them.
Yep, I own a wet palette, but I never really use it because I try to do as much as I can straight from the bottle or with a little bit of thinning.
This year was the first year that I did resin pouring for bases. And as intimidating as that was, it was incredibly easy. And so don't let that intimidation factor stop you from trying it. Don't let any intimidation factor stop you from trying anything. It's your hobby. It's your free time. You do what you want.
That's a super big thing for me. When I first got started doing airbrushing, I never ever thought I would be good at it. Never thought I would enjoy it. Never thought it would be something I would adopt anywhere near as far as I have. But yeah, I absolutely agree. Give anything that sounds interesting or seems like something you could be interested in doing, give it a shot. You might find it a wonderful thing. You might find it's not for you, but heck, what's the worst you've wasted? A little bit of time, maybe a little bit of money. You've got your whole life ahead of you. Do it.
Yep, that's how I started not just airbrushing, baking as well. I saw some neat desserts online that I wanted to try out, and now I'm wowing y'all with all the weird crap I cook as well as all the turn I build.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the things that I always think is interesting is I show people models I paint working on, like, oh, I don't know how you have the patience. And my answer is always the same. And it's like, it's not, this is what gives me the patience to be able to like go into work and deal with people and deal with everything else in life. This is happy sitting at.
Do your hobby the way you like. Have fun with it. If it makes you happy, good. If it doesn't make you happy, then why are you doing it as a hobby?
Don't let anybody yuck your yum.
Whatever that means.
Exactly.
Oh,
I'm trying to speak to the children. It's the children. That's for the children.
There's one more thing that I think really kind of helps, I think, most of us with our hobby stuff. And even if you live in the middle of Alaska and you have no one like for 100 miles around you and you have internet somehow, that's wonderful. Find yourself a hobby group online, various Facebook groups, Instagram group, whatever that is, Discord, what have you. Find yourself a group of like-minded gamers who you can communicate with online on a regular basis and use them for feedback, use them for ideas, bounce stuff off of them, have them bounce stuff off of you. Have a group that you can find yourself and hold yourself accountable to, and that will help you hold you accountable as well to your hobby. That's really helped, I think, most of us a lot.
1,000%.
Yeah, and that's why we started our chat group. That's one thing that I've been really surprised is we've been able to keep it fairly to the rules. We haven't had any spam. We haven't had any bots. We haven't had any anything breaking the 3P rule. So I appreciate everyone chatting in there and all the hobby we're seeing in there. Keep it up and keep yourself going. Keep yourself motivated.
Yep.
Sometimes if you're working on something, you may not be able to get feedback from people or work and stuff like that. But always try to push yourself to be better than you thought you could be. You can do it.
So we've talked about hobby goals that we had for 2022. We've talked about what kind of got us into this and stuff we've encountered over this year that we've added to our toolboxes, or as I again say, Jack's toolbox, my carry case. What are our hobby goals for next year, for 23?
I want to get that ZM table done. I think that's my biggest one. I think outside of that, it's going to be working through more Ultramarines backlog. I have a lot of stuff built. I have a lot of stuff primed. I have a lot of stuff highlighted. Need to get a lot of that done. And then pick an army, either Sisters of Silence or Custodes or Mechanicum. I'm not going to count Knights in that because I think that's something that I can honestly get done as a side project since they're already about halfway there. The skeletons are painted and the armor plates are primed. I just need to finish it off. Us along that same line though is also AT. I need to get that stuff. That's at the same scale. So I think changing up instead of doing this hardcore work on one project until I go crazy like I'm doing right now. I think if I do one thing at a time, like work on a tank for Ultramarines and then change to a piece of terrain or a ZM tile, something like that, back and forth, I think is.
Jack, what are you going to do?
Paint more Ultramarines? Goals for this year, plans, hopes, dreams, aspirations, whatever we're doing right now, because I was busy detail brushing, so I wasn't paying attention. I want to get back into the 3D printing game, but all my 3D printers have slowly died due to probably being used entirely too much. I want to get back into that. I want to visit more hobby stores. This year is going to probably see me out on the road a lot. Want to visit hobby stores, high five people, kiss hands, shake babies. The other way around. Shake hands, kiss babies. I always get that confused and always gets me in trouble. That's what I want to do this year. 3D printing and go visit hobby stores because I know playing games isn't going to be in the cards. If I go to a hobby store and somebody has an army lying around and they want to play a game, I will absolutely be there and maybe get to play an army I never played before.
Good thing is there's rarely many babies.
I don't know. I've been to a couple stores that were just chock full of just grown babies.
Well, that's yeah.
Yep. One of them's on here right now. Oh, hey, Duncan.
Hey, buddy.
If you're going to be traveling, you might want to see if you could do like a travel paint kit. Maybe take a squad or something like that and get work on it.
I will look into that. Unfortunately, I think with the way my job's going to be, I don't think it's going to be productive doing that because I'll be hopping hotels every single night.
Yep.
And eating Salisbury steaks.
I get.
There's worse things.
No, I'm happy about the Salisbury steak. Don't get it wrong.
That conversation about a mobile setup about Mike. That's a different conversation.
You've been talking about that for 3 years almost, brother.
It's been about 3 years that's past due. So
let me list all the Kickstarters I never got to make you feel better.
So I'll go ahead and throw mine down. I need to get the Sons of Horus finished. I need to get the new World Eater list done, not just built but also painted. And I need to get the Alpha Legion for Corrin done. So I've got basically a little bit left for one army, a lot left for two armies. So hopefully I can get all that done. And then maybe, just maybe, finish and actually paint the two tables and the one ZM table that I have. So we'll see.
Before we wind down, I just had a thought like sprint into my head, and I've got to put it out there before I risk losing it. If we start putting out predictions for next for Heresy, what do those end up looking?
More plastic
tanks before we. A bunch more plastic tanks before we get a plastic infantry that we really need.
Okay, so how many? Let's start doing this like almost Price is Right style. How many more tanks do you think we'll see before we see a not tank kit in plastic? And what do you think that not tank will be?
So I think we're probably going to lease the Spartan variant, the Cerberus.
I think the second one's getting announced this coming day. I was looking at the website and They have the Typhon, and they said they have something else they're going to announce on this coming Thursday.
Do we count all the other Sakaran options as individual tanks?
No.
Yep.
Oh, what is it?
Oh.
There's a couple of them that are not like they're basically a whole like the Venerator is a totally different tank, but the Arquois and the
Punisher.
Plasma and the Bolter one all use the same base hull. So
Supposedly the jet bikes are completely vanished from the website.
yeah, that's what I was going to point out is that the jet bikes are no longer on Forge World's website anymore. So, and there's been rumors of that for a long time that there have been plastic jet bikes cited. So
Yeah, which kind of sucks because my picture was on the website.
I have to say that everybody's speculating that, but my prediction is they'll come out of nowhere and Mark for Assault Marine.
Ooh.
I'll raise you, Dan. I'll raise you, Dan. I'm gonna go Mark II Assault Marines because we don't have Mark IIs yet of any shape.
That would be interesting. I think that either way would be great because hopefully that will bring arm heresy appropriate pistol and
Like assault weapons kit or
weapons, the 2-arm close combat weapon upgrade kit in plastic as well. So maybe that's wishful thinking, but as much as the jet bikes and White Scars and everybody would love to have that, my guess is the Assault Marine.
My guess is it's going to be Mark 6 Assault Marines.
I think I'd do breachers first because they're just so easy to upgrade. It's just one arm.
Right.
Yeah, you could almost do breachers just the same way you do the heavy weapon grades, right?
Yep.
You got the plastic. In theory, you could do Assault Marine the same way, weapons and jump pack.
That's kind of why I'm saying the Mark 6 Assault Marines. Maybe it'll just be a Mark 6 variant pack of either Assault Marines or breachers, or maybe a combination, 2 different boxes at the same time. Who knows?
I don't think they're going to do Mark 6. Those feel weird. Those feel super weird. Like, I like Mark 6, and I don't... That's weird.
Yeah, I'd say if you're going to see breachers, it'd probably be threes or twos. I mean, because they're heavier, supposed to be heavier armor. I mean, but
I'd love to see Plastic Mark II.
I think
Plastic Mark II in any way, shape, or form would be awesome. And I actually do like the Mark V, but I have a full Carcharodon army of that, like everything of it's Mark V. So, but that's probably here and there. The Mark IIs would probably sell a lot better.
I think my favorite Mark of all armor is Mark III, and I'd love to see that in everything, but I don't think we will. So,
yeah,
we'll see. I do think that beyond that, we're likely to see the last few legions that don't have unique Praetors dropped for them drop soon, like the World Eaters.
But those will all be resin.
Yeah, but I'd be happy to see them.
It wouldn't surprise me if you get a couple plastic named HQs though too, like they did last year with
Salt Harvets.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I will bet see the Javelin kit before we see jet bikes. I will bet that we won't see Exodus until they're ready to show off the Alpha Legion heads and shoulders for the Mark 6 kit. And I agree that I think our next infantry kit is going to be Mark 6 Assault Marines, since we already have Mark 6s in plastic.
My prediction, and you're going to hate me for this, my prediction is because Exodus isn't weak that they're not going to put out an Inno model.
I don't believe that for a moment, given the way that Games Workshop has behaved as a business for the last 5 years. I do want us to weigh in. Do we think demons are going to show up in first quarter, first half, or second half?
My prediction: they'll show them. They'll preview them at Adepticon.
I would hope that we get demons and militia in the first quarter because they were already supposed to be out. That's
yeah. I mean,
here's an interesting one. Do you think we will see points rebalancing come because we will if I have faith. Do you think we will see it come in PDF FAQ format, or do you think we will like a chapter approved Harris book come out maybe as a campaign book / update at some points unit rule? Because I would think the latter probably.
Yeah, I think they're going to do like an updated book, like what you're talking about, Dan.
I'm very dubious on them doing an actual chapter. And at the very least, I really wonder how the community's going to respond to it. Even if for no other reason than we saw the particular EO outrage at the last FAQ, and don't get me wrong, I'm very happy that we've started fixing that, that things are trending in the right direction. But I don't think that Games Workshop has the capital, like the social capital, to spend on moving Heresy to a chapter approved system at this time. That's not to say that they definitely won't try it, but I don't see that being wise. Now that being said, I will agree with the stipulation or the suggestion. We'll see demons and or militia. We'll see one of our missing armies at Adepticon. And I'll even throw a wild card in here. They might do Dark Mechanicum at Adepticon, if they think they have something to actually show for the army. And I will bet that we will get that within the first half of the year. And then I will bet around the 1 year anniversary of that first box coming out that
We
we
get a
will
fact?
get no, that we will get our first campaign supplement. That's what I'm betting. I'm betting we will get our Liber Demonica, which may or may not contain like demon assassins, may or may not contain dark mech. I don't know what we're gonna do or see as far as a militia book. I don't know if they're gonna be like warp cults. I don't know if those will be in Liber Demonica. But I will bet before the first half of the year is out, we will finally have quote unquote finished catching the game back up. That may or may not also include Black Shields, and I think that could be interesting if they put both Militia and Black Shields in the same book as a, hey, here's your loyalty flexible former Imperial armies. And then yeah, I bet they won't want to go more than 12 months without getting a first campaign supplement out there. And that'll
Like
probably bring some models in tow.
kind of like a Liber Orphans of War.
Yep. Yep, I think you could look at it like that. And on the subject of those campaign books, I will bet that our first campaign book will fold in one traitor and one loyalist exemplary battle unit. And then if they've got like weird question marks, like we talked about last show, how like the Efreet squad doesn't work with the Saboteur. When those squads get folded in, they'll get like truly folded in and integrated with their legions for any like weird rules questions. And then I bet we will see a few, if they are ready to return those models to production, I bet we will see a few Legacies units get folded back in campaigns. Now that being said, I don't know what we're gonna see for that first campaign supplement off the top of my head, but I will bet that at most you will see 2 brand new unit entries, and instead they will be working on pulling the X-Bat and the Legacy units forward into, hey, we actually took the time and we want you to believe that we took the time to playtest these and to make real rules for them rather than what we've put out so far.
I've got one. It's Christmas. They like to do special. Maybe they'll throw out a limited for our.
I'm gonna go something bigger than that for a Christmas present from GW. If y'all remember, they previewed Horus Ascended.
They did.
It's been a long time since that happened.
Oh, wow, that's right. And they like had that model done,
Yep.
and we haven't seen sight or sound of him. That's wild.
Was that was resin still, right? That wasn't a plastic.
Correct. It is Forge
That's
World.
resin.
Usually Forge World will do something big. They'll do a big splash for either Christmas or like Boxing Day, what they've done in the past. And
Yeah,
we
Boxing
haven't.
Day.
That model was previewed what
They did
6
just
months
announce-
ago.
Well, they just announced that the Boxing Day limited Sigmar model is going to be that Ghoul King on the throne. And they
Right, wasn't it
specifically
announced
said-
Adepticon last year, Horse?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's been over 6 months. So, like, where is he?
That's what I'm saying. They specifically said that the Boxing Day Sigmar mini was the Ghoul King. So that means we don't know what the other model.
Right, but I'm gonna bet that they're gonna release that or at least preview it for order pretty soon. That's what I'm getting.
I'm gonna bet you're right about that for Forge World, and I bet the 40K model they're gonna preview is another Primaris Lieutenant.
I mean, yeah.
That reminds me, I ordered that anniversary the guy stabbing the orc week when I'm guaranteed to get one, and I still am waiting for that order to come. I have something else on that order, Contemptor weapon.
It could be delayed because of Contemptor weapons. I ordered the Witch Hunters reprint handbook, and it took them literally 5 months.
Well,
It was one of those
this is the
on demands, but
this is just the plastic Contemptor.
Hey guys,
Look who's
Zach just joined us.
Who?
Zach.
Zach, what's
Zach.
up, Zach? Did you get the raccoon out of the museum?
No, that's not my job. I just reported it.
Good answer.
Raccoon.
No, I saw
We
that
missed
thing.
you, brother.
I missed you guys. How have y'all been?
Good.
Yeah,
doing good, man.
it's reflecting on the year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's been quite the year. Quite the year. Yeah, no, I finally I finished up with my semester of school. I'm in the middle of a move to a different house. And then I've been submitting Adepticon events all night. Or all weekend rather.
So hey,
Hi.
want to give us a preview for the listeners of what you might see at Adepticon?
Pretty much a little bit of whatever you want. The old standbys of teams and like bigger 3-day narrative overarching events are going to be there. We've got attrition coming back again. Alex is going to do Fate of Beta Garmin, so that's going to be a very mixed mixed style game. So you'll have some individual one-on-one games, you'll have some team games, you'll have some like 3-on-3 kind of games as well. So and then we're gonna finish it up on Saturday with like a kind of a relaxed format event where we did it last year, called it Grudge Match, where it's pretty much just like any person that you know of or you're friends with and you like, oh man, I really wish I'd gotten to play you at some point. Well, you can specifically call people out to get games in. So kind of a mixed bag. So it can be loyalist on loyalist, it can be traitor on traitor, it can be any kind of mix, whatever you want to do. But it's just kind of like a semi-organized, kind of relaxed wind down for the weekend. And then I don't know, there's always some strange thing going on Saturday nights. I don't know, it's some weird like underground thing that's always going on, but things I can't talk about.
The Saturday last year was the what if where.
So were there any questions? Because you'll have your like 3,000 point game, you'll have your 2,000s, you'll have 1,500 to 2,500 because that's attrition.
And back in our old room.
And back in the old, yeah, there was some constant subtle lobbying, and then I don't know, last Adepticon Saturday night there were a loud group of heresy aficionados that kind of we carried over into the rest of the hall, and it was kind of distracting for the Star Wars Legion and Marvel Crisis Protocol, all those Asmodee games that were taking up the hall, and they had their speakers and their live streams and everything else, and we were constantly being a big distraction because of how loud we were. So it's kind of helped out. That is us. We were particularly loud and raucous.
That's the
and
default
inebriated.
level for heresy.
I'm sorry, what?
That's the default level for heresy.
It is, yeah. Well, we kind of, I don't know, because last year wasn't as big of a turnout as like obviously the last several years. We were back in one of the big auditoriums, and there were like, some people that had, or one of the Asmodee games, they had like music and things like that. But once we busted out the wrestling ring for our Praetors and Primarchs, it was a whole different story. So they learned that they weren't, we weren't in there with them, they were in there with us.
So what you're saying is that, as always, the heresy kind of showed through.
Yes, as always.
Life finds a way.
Yeah, there's a reason that they exiled us up to our own room.
And we had to remind them. Yes.
Well,
yeah,
they
we'll be
had
back.
2 years off thanks to COVID. They forgot about us.
That's what it was. Like, oh, we'll just move them back down there. We want to keep them away from the glass cases from for Golden Demon anyway. And apparently they like, you know what, we'll risk it now. Granted, I don't know if they're going to do Golden Demon up in that section anyway, but
Well, look
That's
at
the
it. I'm
increase
I'm
in
gonna stand
Harrison
on my box for a minute. Look at it. If you want to promote people in these painting competitions, you need to put them next to the best painted armies in action, which
Yes.
happens to be heresy because we all care.
yes.
Yep.
Yes, we do.
Half the entries will be heresy players anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. So, Zach, brother, it's good to see
Yes.
you again.
Good to
It's
see you,
nice
man.
seeing. I missed you all.
We've missed you.
I kind of had to drop off the face of the earth because my classes this semester sucked. So I got through 'em.
So, should we look forward to seeing more of you next year?
Yes,
Yay.
indeed. I only have 2 classes next semester. Actually, one of them I'm even registered for. I'm on a waiting list. So I should be fine. Oh, and I got promoted, so I should be out of having to work on weekends very soon. So, and we've got, for those that don't know, I work at a museum, and they frequently have weekend events, particularly during the holidays. The actual museum gets rented out, like on Saturdays and Sundays, and other Fridays, Saturdays, and other nights throughout the week, where people have like wedding receptions right there in the center of the museum and stuff like that. I'm in IT. I have to make sure like all the wireless networks work, and if people are live streaming, then they're doing that. It's a pretty big deal. So that's why I'm working weekends currently. But once the holidays are over as well,
Dig it.
I'll be here for this stuff.
Okay.
So what else is up? You guys are just talking about the year stuff? End of the year?
Prediction for
accomplished?
next year, what we'll see, like kit wise and rules wise.
I have no idea. I'm completely out of the loop on so much right now.
Well,
It's
you've
like
been busy for the year.
Yeah. I feel like I've been like hibernating for a while. I'm just kind of opening up, and like there's Plastic Typhon and stuff coming out that they announced. So
Yep.
saw that. That's about.
I remember that feeling.
I just put gold on 23 dudes during this thing. That's a lot of gold.
I just finished my Megadroth remains for my desert table.
All right. So, Jacob, I think we're probably in a good spot to probably start wrapping this up, man.
Well, that sounds good. Once again, as Jack said, I've been Jacob, and this episode I've been joined by
Dan.
Duncan.
Jack.
John.
Jamie.
Oh, it's me again. Zach.
And and our last minute guest, Zach. Thank you so much for joining us, not only this episode, but this year. We'll see you next year, and as always, stay accountable to your hobby and to your buddies. We'll see ya.